Vomitorium. You can support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Enjoy the show.
It's Burbank.
Support the Vomitorium at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I like it overall, but, you know, we get issues.
It's totally user error on my part. I understand that.
You're just in time.
Yeah.
Yay! I
Perfect.
did it.
Hooray. We're live.
We
Apparently.
are. Hey.
Yay! Live.
And I forgot to bring up anything, but that's all right because we're probably not gonna talk about video games for at least.
Oh, don't worry.
As long as you're on
to
here.
talk about, I have like a plethora of backup things, so
Okay.
We're not talking about video games.
we can.
Well, unless you want to.
We can talk about
I'm
anything.
not very good at video games. You can talk about how
That's
much
okay.
I'm bad
Neither
at
is
them.
Marsupial.
Yay!
I claim to be.
Claim
I
to be
used to
good
be.
or claim to be bad?
I claim to be a gamer, I guess.
Oh,
It is in your name.
That's right.
that's true.
So,
I have never claimed to be this. I tried playing Shadow of Mordor because somebody gave it to me for a present. They were like, "It's really easy." I was like, "This game's friggin' hard. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. I can't beat anything. If I'm in the Shadow realm or whatever, I can still die. What's the point?" I even did the
Everybody keeps seeking
tutorial.
revenge on you.
No, it was awful. I was like, you know what?
is that
You lied to me.
an MMO?
No. It's like have you ever played like Assassin's Creed or the Arkham games? It's like that, but set
Yeah.
up in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's when
Nice.
that's why they gave it to me. They were like, "Oh, you liked Assassin's Creed," and I was like, "Yeah." In like 2005, the last time I played it, and they're like, "Oh, well, you like it?" I was like, "No, I fucking hate it. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. I guess
Oh.
I'll go back to playing
Well,
Puzzle Bobble Bop."
at least you tried.
I did try for like 2 hours.
Hey, I tried what's it called? Elden Ring for many hours before I finally decided I don't really like it very much. I still haven't been able to figure out how to upgrade my health potions in that thing.
It's funny.
I keep looking at other people and they've got like 10 health potions and I'm like, I have just the original 4 and how do you do that? They're like, oh, you get a seed and bring it to a thing and do another thing and it just happens. What?
Like, that sounds so fun.
But it is a cool game. I just
That's
don't play
good.
it very much. So Metal,
Yeah. Hey,
I think you're up.
I was gonna say welcome to the Vomitorium to anyone watching and to our guest. As always, I am your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. And if you would like to introduce yourself, you can.
Who,
Allie.
me?
Yes, you.
Oh, my name is Ali Sunguis, and I am an author and editor and voice, and I am here now, and so is my dog.
You do voice acting?
Yeah, I've done several, wow, I'm not a brain actor, clearly. Comic book trailers.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
And then one trailer for a card game.
cool.
I did Phantoma a couple weeks ago. That was fun.
Neat.
For the Tiger Blue comic.
Metal, do we need any voice actors for any upcoming projects?
I don't know. Maybe. I haven't decided yet whether there's going to be voice acting in it. We are going to be making a game soon.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
But welcome GMT to the chat. I haven't seen you in a while. She's been on sabbatical from the internet, I think.
Where do I go to see this chat?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
Or
YouTube. There's
Twitch.
also in the Discord there is a section that says live stream chat where you typed earlier. Restream will put the chat in there as well.
Oh, this is so fancy.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are like professionals.
I try to be.
I feel like it's like 1995, right? And I'm on
It's the exact feeling I was going for.
I'm on like I'm on a mud again, and I have to like remember how to type things. It's fun.
Because of Discord or
Yeah, Discord and whatever this D-Live
Yeah.
thing is.
oh,
Oh, look, you've got me listed as a guest and everything.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Please
there you
stream
go.
bot. Okay.
It's all metal. He's the mastermind.
It's so
Set this
fancy.
all up.
Good
I
job,
wanted, I
Mr.
wanted to
Metal.
look like old school internet and stuff. Try to get that like, remember real time player? That's what I wanted to feel like. Like we're stuck on real time player. I miss that stuff.
I do remember that so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GMT
So,
says a brain actor would probably sound like Orson Welles. I kind of agree. That I think Orson Welles was very much a brain actor.
Where's the YouTube that this is on? I must just not be good at what I'm doing.
You want me to put it in the chat?
Well, I mean, if you scroll up in the Discord chat, there are links to the Twitch, the YouTube, and the D Live.
Dean is here. He says, "You can't be on camera, Marsupial. What if Liam sees?"
Oh,
Well, I don't have my address up here. I don't think.
at least not today.
I'm in an undisclosed location, broadcasting from a bunker.
I almost forgot to retweet this out. Let me go solve
Oh
that.
no. No drama.
So yeah, so Allie, speaking of false flaggers or flaggots as I like to call them.
Oh, I like that term. Flag, it's a good term.
What happened to your channel? Did it?
I got I was stricken.
Stricken with monkeypox?
Ew, no. No, on the Thursday show, like for over a year, we completely transformed the reality TV show that we're watching, and just recently YouTube started having a problem with it. They didn't have an issue with the entire Star Wars show that we did.
Yeah.
But now they're just like, oh, now that you're doing a dating show, you know, we can't. So
was it
yeah.
because of because of this latest show, or was it a strike on something else?
Well, last Thursday we got struck like 7 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I ended it early.
Mhm.
And then so I decided, okay, I'm just going to do it through my Twitch and then have the YouTube be showing my Twitch so that people knew where to go. And even though it was the YouTube being captured through StreamYard onto my Twitch, they still struck it. So now I can't stream for a week.
So this was more serious than the strikes you got last week, because I mean they didn't like
Yeah, that one
hold
they
up your
just
channel.
Yeah, that one they just stopped my stream. This one they were like, you were bad, so
Yeah.
you can't do it for a whole week. I was like, yes, I am so terrible.
So you had the idea. So I've been watching this. I think Metal missed these live streams, but you had the idea of doing it just on Twitch, but then for some reason YouTube at first didn't seem to have a problem with you displaying your Twitch channel on which you were displaying a reality show. But then
Yeah,
they got really mad about that apparently.
yeah, because
So
they
I think
took it off all the way.
Yeah, I think you had the right idea, but probably shouldn't have shown anything on YouTube like you initially.
But I wanted
Thought.
to I wanted the viewers who didn't have Twitter or whatever to know where we were. Because people like
Yeah.
that show. You know? I'm told it brings joy, so who am I to deny?
You just have to have like a banner that says "Come to Twitch." You don't have to have an account.
No, I
You-
did. I did have that, but they were still lost a little bit, so I was like, fine, I'll start it. I want to please my fans, you know?
So explain what you do on your channel. I mean, what is it called? Is it called Game Over? Is that the show that you
Yeah, that's the show.
do
But it's
Thursdays?
not gaming, it's a game shows. So if
You show
go,
game shows.
yeah, if you go like expecting to see someone playing video games, you probably won't. Although sometimes I do play like bad little internet games poorly. Like
Mhm.
that's what I was doing when we discovered the Star Wars reality TV shows. I was playing these crappy like Star Wars shows on the Disney's Star Wars website.
Right. So on Thursdays you do reality shows, sometimes game shows,
Uh-huh.
but it's kind of like Double Dare, right? The Star Wars one.
I don't
Like
know, I never
kids.
watched it. I'm told it
I was
is,
gonna
but
ask
yeah.
which Double Dare.
Oh well.
But then I
Or-
started doing this weird deep dive into like the world of game reality shows and like talking to like trying to get in touch with some of the people who are on some of these shows and stuff, and it's very strange. Like it's become its own thing that I never imagined, and I've just kind of let it sort of blossom like a mold.
Yeah, because you've actually interviewed several of the people on some of these reality game show kind of shows, right?
Well, 2. No,
Some of the
3.
players. Oh,
3.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2
I don't know
from
if
Mad Mad
3
House.
is several yet. That's just
Yeah,
a few.
That's why I
Oh, okay.
said,
You've
that's why I
you've
said
interviewed
well,
a few of
3.
them. Yeah.
You're on the
Yeah,
fringe of several.
Yeah.
Right.
The thing is, like, some of them are hard to find. I think some of them might watch the show and be like mad that we kind of make fun of all of them. But I mean, that's it. It is what it is, as the children say, or don't, as it were. I don't know.
But I've never heard of some of these, so like, I mean, well,
I'm trying to find like the craziest, like weirdest, horrible.
I think it's kind of fair to make fun of people on game shows. I mean, not everybody can be prestigious and cool, like being on Who Wants to Win Ben Stein's money.
But for a while there, you were watching, what was it called? The one where there's like people in a cave and then the other people in the future.
Opposite worlds. Yeah, we got
What's it-
one
what's it
opposite
again?
worlds.
Opposite worlds.
Yeah, that one. We got a guy from that show to talk to us. Another thing is, a lot of these people, like, they don't have social media. It's very weird. So I think some of the emails and accounts that I'm writing are out of date or something. But I try, you know. And some of them, like, their job now is that they're like an influencer or whatever. So they'll want you to like pay them to do an interview. It's like, I'm not gonna
Right.
pay you.
Here's a game show I'd like to do. I would like to do an Amish reality show because you never have to worry about anybody on the show criticizing the show itself because they'll never see it.
There you go.
They
So
have
what was the-
Amish reality shows.
Oh, do they? Nice.
Yeah, but like, there's some about the kids who like go on their Rumspringa.
Oh, no, that's boring. I want to do like the Highland Games, but with Amish people.
Oh my god.
That would be great because they're lifting barns all day. They got to be strong people. I bet they're more athletic than they let on. So
That's true, but I'm pretty sure like contests are against their religion or something. Like they can't
No, it won't be for them. I'll convince them it's for the glory of the Lord.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to see it. The producers of reality shows, I have decided are like modern highly paid sadists, because
Oh yeah, they have to be.
the stuff that they do to these people's minds is insane.
Yeah, what's the most? Tell us about the most recent show, the one that got you struck. 'Cause I think that's particularly sadistic.
That one is called I Want to Marry Harry, and they take like, I don't know, 15 chicks or whatever who are attractive, I guess, conventionally, and they put them in this hotel for a week and didn't let them talk to anybody or have any contact with the outside world. And then they drive them to this like beautiful country estate in England. And they're like, okay, you're gonna meet this guy and you're gonna date him, and he is very important. And they got an actor who looks like kind of like Prince Harry. And this is like 2014. So before he was married. To that bitch. But then they did their best to convince these girls without saying it outright that this is actually Prince Harry. And they even, like, when some of the girls start doubting it, they bring in like a cast member who pretended to be a therapist to tell them like, oh, stop doubting it, like it's crazy if you think that he's not real. Like, and they had these girls when they were in their rooms, they would have other cast members like come up near the rooms and whisper like loudly but not too loudly about how like the royal family is upset about the show, and like it's crazy. Oh, they put like pictures of the royal family, like little tiny ones all around the mansion. Like it's crazy. Yeah, the gaslighting game show. Exactly. It's insane. And it's a Ryan Seacrest show.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all.
It surprised me. But then there's this other guy, he called himself Jabbin' Dude, JD Roth. He's behind like all of these crazy shows where he just mentally like hurts people. It's crazy. Ryan Seacrest, Game Motron.
Was who did the show that was like vampires and normal people?
Honestly,
What was that show?
I don't know, because that production, like we deep dove into that, and that production company was broken up like right afterward. And that one was just a Sci-Fi Channel thing, so they had made their own production company for it. And it wasn't a bunch of vampires. It was just one vampire.
No. Well, it was like
It was like
kind
a
of
bunch
like Big
of
Brother.
conservative Christians, and then like they called them alts, so like people who lived alternative lifestyles. It was like a guy who was a vampire, a guy who had a bunch of piercings and tattoos, like a voodoo priestess who wasn't a voodoo priestess, like she got sued. A witch, like.
And you interviewed a couple
vegan
people,
guy.
I thought, from that, didn't you?
Yes. We interviewed a guy and an older lady, and I still talk to the older lady, Bonnie. We call her Grandma Bonnie. She's the grandma of my channel now, and I love her. She's an author, it turned out. And she's just the sweetest lady ever. And they were comics fans, so that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird, but I'm doing it.
Cool.
But I'm not the funniest person on my show by a long shot.
Yes. So, how did you get this motley crew together? Anyway, can you describe the people on your show? Because you have three cohorts that usually join you?
Dean James. He's a comic artist and personality.
From
then-
Australia.
Yes, he is a silly boy. And then Michael T. He makes comics, I'm sure. Right? What is
He's
Michael
high.
T?
Yeah,
He
he's
has
High
hair.
Desert Comics.
Yeah.
on
He has
Twitter.
hair. And he loves chocolate milk. Also, Wolvo. He says he's an artist, and then he likes to have his shirt off. And sometimes Clayton Barton comes on. And he's another Aussie artist. Aussie, sorry, mer. He'll yell at me.
Yeah, I thought you said Nazi at first. I'm like, well, I mean, it takes different strokes,
Oh
I
my
guess.
gosh. No.
So you just know them all from Comicsgate or Comicsgate adjacent?
Yeah, basically,
Just-
like, I was just messing around and they thought it was funny and I let them come on and they're the ones who decided to keep coming on. It grew very organically. It just kind of
It's like,
grew all by itself.
I let them in my house one day and they just never left.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like that's an Edward Gorey story about this like weird little creature that invites itself into these people's house and it does strange, annoying things and it never leaves. So that's pretty much what happened, except I like them all. They are strange little creatures.
Cool.
Is there anything more adorable than the way an Australian says no? I don't know.
I honestly don't know. Every Australian that's ever told me no follows it with the word cunt. So if you find that adorable,
I don't think an Australian's ever told me no.
yeah.
So this is not
Well.
a shared experience.
All right.
Why would they?
Indeed. So, tell us about how did you meet hockey?
Sorry, that was
Because-
my dog.
You do a show with a fellow who goes by Ad Hoc Art on Twitter
Yes.
on Saturdays
Yes.
usually.
Usually it would be tonight.
Yeah,
Sunday in Australia, but I
another Australian.
don't. Yes, I don't remember how we met. It just was like, hey, people like when we talk, so let's have a show. And we started doing that. Mainly because, so what we do on the Alley and Hockey show on Saturdays is I just find things mainly that torture him and then he, like, reacts to them.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I try and be nice and find things that make him laugh, too.
He's always wearing a nice hat and a bow tie.
Yes.
He always looks very dapper.
Yes, he is the dapperest in CG. I think it
Mhm.
makes for a good contrast between like
Exactly.
the
goth girl.
abysmal goth chick, and then there's like a father type with his little bow tie.
Mhm.
But he's got a dark side. I'm writing a comic for him, and it is rather twisted.
Oh,
There's there's more to him than meets the eye for sure. There's a darkness within hockey.
that you've brought out.
No, I think he just asked me to translate it out so it can be easily digested.
I assume
But-
anyone with a bow tie has an inner darkness and can't be trusted.
Right?
So you're a writer too, Metal, aren't you?
Yeah. Do lots of writing.
Yeah.
I have to get water though. I will be right back. I'm so sorry.
That's
Yeah,
right.
take your time.
We'll just talk about her behind her back here.
Oh yeah, that's always the most fun thing to do. No, I was actually doing some writing yesterday because I need to continue working on Act 2 of X Dynamis Chaos that I kind of just stalled in the middle of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I hope you don't mind me kind of conducting the interview because I
don't
tend
care.
to watch your channel. You're not as familiar with Allie's
Hey,
channel.
if I can
as
sit back
am,
and just run the show sometimes, that's all fine.
Yeah. Well, welcome to folks in the chat. Joshua's here and GMT, and
Yeah, we
I
have
think
our,
Dean
some of our
popped
good
in.
Cult of Raven friends in there.
Yeah.
I'm back.
GMT says, "Is Ryan Seacrest a TV thing?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
He, correct me if I'm wrong, but he kind of got his big break on American Idol.
Yeah.
He was one of the 2 judges for the first 2 seasons, I think. Or was he longer than that?
He was like the
longer than
host
that, but
and stuff too. I remember him going like
Or
CBS out.
host, not
that was like the big thing. He was pretentious.
mm-hmm. The
Like,
first 2 seasons, he had a co-host.
that's right. He stayed. The co-host ended up leaving
Mm.
after 2 seasons,
Mhm.
right? Because
Yep.
nobody liked the other guy. They just liked Ryan Seacrest.
I guess. I don't know.
And then he became just kind of a celebrity for being on TV, right? I mean, he just kind of joined.
Well,
Didn't he join
that's-
MTV for a while?
That's one
And-
way you become a celebrity these
I don't know.
days is just be in the public eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I don't know.
he's-
He's
He's
evil,
been
though.
big. He's been big in America for like 20 years. So GMT may not. She's from Wales, so she doesn't necessarily know.
Mm. Wales, they have interesting
Mm-hmm.
accents.
Indeed.
They have a whole different language that I'm
Mm-hmm.
told is like impossible to learn.
And they also decided to spell things stupidly just to fuck with the British.
Well,
They're
I
like,
mean,
yeah,
they're
this
the
W
British,
here, it doesn't
so-
make the W sound. Screw you,
what
British.
sound does the W make?
Oh, I forget. It's E, I think, or something like that. Like the
What? Shut up. You make that up.
Why is it vowel? Damn it.
Yes. Of course, GMT is a robot from Wales. So
Oh, okay.
a female robot.
Honestly, their sounds aren't that strange when you compare them to other like Gallic languages in the area, like Irish and stuff like that. Like it mostly makes sense, but some of their choices were specifically to fuck with the British.
Well, I mean, like it's hard, right?
So you've been doing a series lately about fantasy maps that I've found fascinating. Or maybe just 2 shows on that.
It's world building as a
Those have
whole.
been-
Oh, okay, we're
Okay.
talking about cartography, like what's behind us, not the new
Right.
word for map. Okay.
No.
Yeah,
This
that's
is a
why it
wholesome
says.
show, damn it.
That's why it says cartography in the card instead of the other thing.
If you don't want to attract the
Got
other people.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's not
Yeah, I've
just
got a lot of nice ones up here.
Yeah, it's not just that. That's with Rainy every other Friday. And she does Fiendish. And she does all of that all herself. The writing and the art and everything. All by herself.
Mhm.
So, we thought cause we did one that was about, creating languages. Because we both created a language for our books. And we kind of found out that her working with a comic and me just doing a fantasy that's a novel, because my comic is horror but my novel is fantasy, we thought that would be fun to sort of talk about the similarities and differences with that. So we did languages, we did cartography, we did architecture, fantasy architecture, and then the next time we're just going to go into the specific differences between prose and comics. And we kind of decide on on each show, like what our next thing is going to be about. But there's a lot to dig into in that. And again, people seem to enjoy it, so we try to make it interesting,
Mm-hmm.
thought-provoking.
Yeah, I forgot. I watched the one on architecture. That was pretty
Mhm.
cool. He showed off some castles and things like that. Gothic
Yeah.
cathedrals.
You talk about what works, what doesn't work, what architecture in fantasy usually conveys, because usually the bad guy lives in, a creepy castle. There's
Hmm.
or it has some sort of uh, feature in it that is sinister in some way. Um, we went through all
Yeah.
of that. It's quite fun. So we've just decided it's world building in general.
Hmm.
And people have a lot of questions about world building. It kind of, for me, it feels like it comes naturally, but for some people it seems like it's a little harder. So I'm more than happy to talk about that stuff. It's fun.
Oh yeah, I feel the same way because like when I world build, I don't even think about it. It's just like things start spilling out of my head. Like okay, that goes there, and
Have you ever watched Shadiversity at all?
I'm
On YouTube?
subscribed, but I haven't watched any
I
yet.
watch him all the time. I love Shed.
Yeah, he has some great videos on architecture, castles, and what
Okay.
medieval castles actually looked like.
Yeah.
Things like that are fascinating. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily apply if you're doing a fantasy world. It doesn't have to be exactly the way castles really were, but
But
Yeah,
a lot
there's
of
more-
fantasy is based off of reality too. They just
Mhm.
kind of like take things into the extreme and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah, there's more room to play, but the thing is, like, learning about how a lot of that stuff worked is really beneficial because it can add to the flavor of your story. Like,
Mhm.
learning about how castles and keeps and stuff were built over time
Mhm.
has definitely helped add to my my story.
Yeah.
Because when they used to build castles and their walls in just a square, it was pretty easy to overtake them. But I learned that when they started making them into points, like 5-pointed and stuff, it's
Mhm.
so much harder to attack them and overtake them. Even if you're doing a siege, it's harder. Just because
So
of
you've got
how.
more surfaces to attack that you have to get to.
Well, no. When
More
it's
angles.
when it's pointed out, you can go out further to protect the walls,
Yeah.
and then it's a lot easier to see if anybody's coming up around you. And that was going to a real castle, because not right down the road, but in St. Augustine, which is about 45 minutes away from where I live, there's the oldest fort there. And it is designed in that like 5-pointed like star sort of thing. And it was super fascinating. And I was like, wow, that totally changes the design of something that I could be writing about. Because that
Mhm.
that shows where weaknesses could be. Like my troop of soldiers going to attack the queen, they're gonna go and they're gonna say like, okay, this castle is shaped this way. What's the best way to get in there? Do we want to be noticed? Do we not want to be noticed? What are the weaknesses? Because it's like, do you want to keep doing the old, oh, there's a water like sewer pipe that goes right underneath the wall that is conveniently never guarded. Like, do you want to do that again, or do you want to get creative and cool? And I didn't want to do that again. So
Yeah.
but then it also says a lot about the leader who created it. So like the woman who had my huge like castle city built, she doesn't understand warfare and the best way to keep to keep like a castle safe. So she built it in the old way, where it's a lot easier to overtake. And a lot of that is straight up just because she's a woman who doesn't understand it.
I always liked tiered castles, which you see more in like Japan than you do in Europe, but they do have a lot of them in Europe, where they'll have like a large courtyard that's almost designed like a maze in a way, where the castle gets higher and higher up on tiers. And the reason for that is because you kind of have to navigate around the edges and circle up. And by doing that, it forces anybody having a siege to take longer to get around, and archers can pick them off.
Yep.
Which it's like a brilliant way to design a castle.
It's kind of like is Gondor an example of that? It seems like there was like a sloping kind of curve that you had to go up if you wanted to get all the way up to the main keep.
It could be part of the design around it.
least
Yeah.
in
Anything
the
that makes travel time take longer means that like archers and infantry have more time to pick them off before they get to you to whittle numbers down.
Right. GMT brings up a good point that there are castle ruins all over, or not just ruins, but castles all over Europe. But over here, we've never had castles.
There are, I think, 4
We're
castles in Texas.
We have. Oh, they really?
In the
Yeah.
US?
Were they actually used? Like,
Yeah, they were
Were they
mostly
built-
just rich people who wanted to build castles back in the day.
right?
Right, but there
Yeah.
are
We have
stone
forts.
castles in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, our equivalent are basically like forts, but there are some castles. Like there's an actual castle in Colorado.
Yeah.
And it has it's in the middle of the forest, and it was built specifically to be like a working castle. So
Mhm.
they built like a water wheel, and it's onto the Colorado River, and when the wheel is going, it actually generates enough electricity to keep the castle in electricity for the entire year by very little. So you could just live out there, like in this castle indefinitely.
Off the grid.
I mean, to be fair,
Totally
a
off
castle is
the grid.
just a fort, right? Now, some of them
Yeah.
were fortitudes that were made specifically to house nobility, but there were also a lot of like fort-structured castles that were just for like armies that were stationed out in the woods
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Although there's one castle in Florida that was not built to be a fort. It's Coral Castle, and it was just built by this random guy who fell in love with a woman, and I forget where he was from. I feel like it's, I don't know, Sweden or something. But he built this castle out of pure coral in the middle of the night without help from anyone. No one knows how he did it. And it has all these like crazy statues and stuff. Like it has a full scale build of the planet Saturn.
Hmm.
That with one touch it actually spins around, and nobody knows how. And when he was asked about it, he just said he discovered the secrets of the ancient Egyptians, and he built it for this woman that he was in love with. It was supposed to be like their house, and instead of her coming here, she married another man there, and
Oh, no.
never even saw it, and he died alone in this like crazy castle that nobody understands.
Never simp, man. Never
Yeah, I
simp.
mean, she probably just married a saner person anyway. Like, she didn't even have to see the
Yeah.
castles. Like, I met that guy once. He's crazy.
Yeah. He's obsessed with coral. I don't want anything to do with him.
Little did she know he was like one of the greatest architectural minds of our time, and no one understands it.
Yeah.
He could have
That's a-
answered the like aliens, ancient aliens question.
Yeah. I thought you were going to talk about the other castle in Florida that's not designed to be a fort. It's a hotel.
What?
like Disney?
Yeah, it was the Disney castle.
Oh, the Disney castle with one room that costs
it's just a hotel. That's all.
$10,000 to stay in, and it's
It's technically a castle.
it's rented out. It is technically a castle, but it's rented out for 3 years, and you're not allowed to leave after 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
Like,
it's ridiculous.
you have to go to your room at 8?
yeah, you can't leave after the park closes.
Oh
You
well,
think they just
but
let
you
you
can
roam
leave.
around?
Yeah, they straight
yeah,
up
you
lock
can.
you in, and
Yeah.
like
Oh,
they
yeah.
have a staff there who will like deliver you food, but you can't go out into the park.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't even go onto the what do you call it? The porch thingy, balcony. So it's like you're
Yeah.
paying 10 grand for. I mean, it's a nice room. It's like two stories, and it has like a bunch of beds and rooms and
I think
stuff.
the balcony thing's more of a liability issue than anything
Oh.
else. Like, what if you fell off in the middle of the night while nobody was there?
Well, I mean, you're not falling as far as people think you're gonna fall.
No, but you
That's-
could still
that's good.
hurt yourself, even a small fall. You know, like it's a liability thing. It's a park; they're liable for all of the
Yeah.
customers that come in.
But it looks taller than it actually is, so
Oh, it's a perspective thing. Yeah.
yeah, everything there is perspective. But I wouldn't pay Disney right now to stay in that.
No.
See, I'd
They,
say-
luxury prisoner.
yeah,
if you
they
wanna-
couldn't pay me to go to Disney right now, and I freaking love Disney. I consider Disney my home for like 4 years.
See, I would say if you want to go to Disney, stay at the what's the Hawaiian one called?
I don't know. I was not
Uh,
rich enough to stay at that one.
I don't think it was that much, but
I stayed at music because it was the cheapest one. It's like sports
Alright.
and music are the cheapest ones. I wasn't about to pay more.
No, I know people in the Orlando area. If I'm going to Disney, I'm just going to stay at their place.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just mad at Disney right now. So,
I have no desire to go to Disney.
well, I
don't
loved
either.
Disney. Like, my 30th birthday was the first time I went, and I went like easily 4 times a month for 4 years. Like, and it was amazing. I loved it so much. And then they started doing all this bullshit. So
Mhm.
well, and then COVID. They did all that crap with COVID. So I was like, no, I withdraw my cash. Like, as much as it hurts me, because like I loved it so much that I couldn't even watch the nightly castle show because I sobbed like a baby, because it fills me with such joy and like and a mixture of like joy and sadness and inspiration. Like, I would just cry. So instead of doing the castle show, I would have to go do It's a Small World just to keep my sanity, which is
like It's a Small
ironic. Well, I only liked it when it kept me from sobbing, because watching that castle show was like crazy. Because it's not just fireworks anymore. They have a whole thing now where the castle looks like it's moving and stuff. Like, it's nuts. They have actual Tinkerbell flying above you. Like, it is freaking magical. But I'm like, I
Yeah.
won't give you my cash now. Like, I can't justify it.
I was going to say the Polynesian
Oh, the Polynesian, yeah.
is the resort I'd recommend if you did want to, and you can get as long as you get a room facing the castle so that you can see the fireworks at night.
Yeah, that's
But,
fair. But
I
I
haven't
lived in
been-
Hawaii, so I don't really care.
Yeah, but it's like it's an exaggerated version of Hawaii though.
Well, it's just like if you're in Hawaii and you go to a luau with a bunch of tourists, like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when you live in Hawaii and you go to like a luau for the tourists, none of the people performing are actual Hawaiians. They're all Samoan.
Oh.
Because all the Hawaiians are all fat and all the Samoans are all really hot and like toned.
And it pays well.
Well, yeah, it pays well. But like we went to one and we're eating.
Hawaiian for like, I don't know, 6 figures a year. Let's go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we were eating our Kahlua pig and stuff, and this like really gorgeous like Samoan guy comes up, and my kid looks up at him, and you know they're like basically naked. And those things, like, they just have little skirts on. And she looks up and she's like, "Are you a prince?" And I was like, "No, he's not a prince." They took a picture. It was very cute. But, yeah, the only reason to go to a luau is Kahlua Pig. I didn't try Disney's Kahlua Pig, but I like their turkey legs. They're more like ostrich legs.
Mm-hmm.
We go to Universal now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
much better use of your money, I think.
Well, honestly, I kind of like them both, but Disney was my favorite. Like, okay, so we went to a parade, and Ariel waved at me, and I cried. That's how much I loved it there. Okay, because I was so happy. I could ride, I could ride the Haunted Mansion all day, over and over again. But I just don't, I can't give him my money now.
Yeah.
So the Samoans pretend to be Hawaiian, and the Hawaiians pretend to be sumo wrestlers. The cycle is complete. Well, and then wrestlers pretend that they're Samoan, and the Samoan wrestlers don't even mention that they're Samoan. Like, Samoa Joe's not Samoan.
No.
Fucking fat ass. Alright, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on your channel.
Oh, no, dude.
Oh yeah.
I said the word cunt earlier. You're free to
He
say
said, I was gonna say.
You did, okay, right. Yeah, okay.
That's
Got
exactly
it.
what I was gonna say.
I say worse
Okay.
things on this show all the time. Feel free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, what are you writing lately, or what kind of books do you have? I know you've got one book that you have effectively discontinued the first print, right? Wild
Yes.
Man.
Yes, Wild
Hold
Man, hold on.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry, I'll be right back.
Game Motron says Samoa Joe has the best Fat Men music, entrance music, though that's true. No, Wild Man is, I did discontinue the run that it was, which was, in paperback. Anything else from now on is going to be a hardcover with a different, with different artwork. I don't remember what else I was gonna say. Basically, that one's kind of written like a Grimm's fairy tale. It's about a man who. Whoa, that was weird. It's about a man who is taken captive by an evil queen, and when she's done with him, she throws him out, and he becomes ill. But then he is fixed by a woman who can shapeshift with the seasons, or must shapeshift with the seasons, rather. Until he becomes obsessed with going after a deer. And it's allegorical, and there's no dialogue. But so it's very specific, I guess. But it's the only book that I'm writing that is like that, or have written that is like that. Everything else is more standard. So The Rotting Crown, which is my fantasy novel, is just straight up like epic fantasy in its like in that pure definition. The comic book, The Egg Beater, is a horror slasher comic, and you know that's what you're gonna get when you get it. Wild Man is kind of strange. It was sort of my like test. You know, how is it to independently publish, you know? And it's turned out really well. But I gotta move on to other things.
Is Rotting Crown is it partially available online, or?
Yes.
Okay.
It is partially available on my Wattpad, but I might make a new blog style thing because people seem to not like Wattpad.
Okay.
And then I have
But that one's is that one still? Are you finished writing it, or are you still writing that one?
I'm still writing that one.
Okay.
And then I have one book that is for middle grade readers, and that one's almost done. That one is a mystery about a girl who is taken back in time from 1998 to 1917 by a ghost boy, and she has to help him solve his own murder and also figure out how to get back home. And that
What's
one's
that
for
called?
like... That one is called The Haunting of Bonneville Manor. That one's for ages 10, 11, 12, 13.
Hmm.
Those are the three that I'm primarily working on. I have others, but I'm trying to finish those three right now. Anything else that I'm working on is stuff that like artists are having me write for them. So.
Which artists should do more of because they're not very good writers.
Most of them aren't. Yeah.
Well, not everybody can
Some of them.
or should try to be one.
Yeah.
Just
I
like
think
I'm not
big
gonna try and
problem
be an artist.
is muscles, right? Like, we always think about our physical muscles, but you can treat a lot of these talents as muscles too, and a lot of them just don't work out these muscles. So they go to write, and they have like no experience writing. They never do like poetry, which is kind of like going to the gym for writing and stuff. It's like skipping leg day, and they hop in and like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but they do it anyway. So more power to them for having the confidence.
Confidence is nice, but I don't think it will maintain longevity if they
No.
don't know how to do that. Or especially artists who are not writers, but they're also not editors. Because that'll ruin a book faster than poor writing. Is if there's poor editing, like poor
You do-
grammar, stuff like that.
You do freelance editing too, right?
I do, yes.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And that's fun, actually. I get I go into a different place to do that. Like in my mind, I go elsewhere.
All right.
I find it's way
I
easier
am-
to edit other people's stuff than your own because you kind of get in your own head.
I don't know. For me, I've kind of I kind of go to the same place for both ways. I turn off one part of my brain and turn on another part of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm writing my own work, I don't need to go back and edit like story-wise later, because I'm doing that in real time. Most editing that I'm doing when I'm done writing
proofreading.
is just it's proofreading,
Yeah.
grammar and all that, you know. The stuff that other people think is boring. But I'll do it. I will stay up for 3 days straight and do this.
Yeah,
It pleases me.
I was helping edit somebody's script for their comic, and
Oh my god,
By-
comic scripts though are a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
different animal.
by the end of it, I'm like, just have me as a dialogue consultant, please. Do not put me as an actual editor on this thing, because the script I didn't think was that good. And this is for Timothy Oltherson, by the way. I don't like talking behind people's back without mentioning their name. So his script, I didn't really care for it. People liked the book by the end, so if they like it, more power to them. But
Yay.
he asked me to give him like editing advice and stuff like that, and I gave him like ways he could reword things to make them sound more natural and still fit like the cadence of the character. I made sure things were mostly grammatically correct, and basically the only thing he kept were when I fixed spelling or added a comma where it belonged, and just ignored all of the input that comes from more of the editorial side. And it's like, yeah, please don't put me down as an editor. I do not want that on my credit.
Aw. Yeah, comic scripts are very interesting because, like, I've looked at several now, and, you know, including mine, and there's no real, like,
Format.
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. But some of the people that are more famous for writing comics, do not write comic scripts very well. In fact, some of them are horrible, god awful. Like, oh my god. Have you guys seen an Alan Moore script?
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
That guy is a crazy person.
Well, I mean, you don't need to see his scripts to know that, but yeah.
I didn't know what he looked like before I saw
Yeah,
his
he
script.
looks like a
so-
wizard. If you've read any of his comics too, just everything about him, he is a crazy person.
He's a total loony. Like, all of the success for Killing Joke, for all of it goes to 100% to his artist, because anyone who could read those without also going insane, and who could read between the lines and actually see what he wanted. Oh my god, just more power to you, man. Because it's like a wall of caps lock with just random, like, you think that I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. It's a wall of caps lock with no spaces, no pressing enter, no tab, bunch of misspelled words. Like, oh my god, I
GMT
can't even
says he
handle
thinks he
it.
actually is a wizard. I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah.
He's
Walks
a
he's the
around
one
like
who-
Merlin.
You're a Watchman, right?
necromancer. Yes, he's a crazy person.
Well, it's like, do you know the word Merlin? Maybe you would know because you write this type of stuff. But a Merlin was a type of person in Old Gallic society, which basically meant the wild man. They were like an oracle or sage, but they lived out in the woods. A lot of times they would just walk around almost naked, if not fully naked, with long, scraggly beards, and they would like walk out of the woods, give people like sayings, prophecies, advice out of the blue, and then just walk back into the woods, right? And that was a Merlin, and that's where the idea of Merlin the wizard came from. So I wouldn't be surprised if Alan actually thought he was a Merlin, but has to wear clothes because of the rules of society.
It's like, here's what I learned on mushrooms this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My god. It was nuts. I was shocked. And then somebody like Neil Gaiman, I've looked at his scripts now. All of that goes, all the credit for all of that goes to the artist 100% as well.
Which is so weird because he's also a novelist. So you'd think like
Yeah.
his scripts would reflect that, but no.
No. It actually like hurts my feelings to read a Neil Gaiman script.
No.
Like, I'm personally offended by a Neil Gaiman script. I'm like, this is trash. What the hell's wrong with you? And I have his signature tattooed on my arm because I liked him so much. But I can't stand his scripts. If I were an artist, I would have refused to work with him.
You know, see, I'm really, really methodical when I write a script. So, like, I start with, like, an outline process, because with modern digital editing, we can just fill in things later. So I'll go through, I'll give, like, a synopsis of the entire script at the beginning so that if somebody was going to draw it, they could get an idea of what they're doing. Then I'll line out all the characters just so they can keep this in mind while working. Then I'll go down and I'll give, like, a brief sentence for each page. And then I'll go back in and I'll give a full page synopsis so they can get an idea of the whole page. And if they're a creative artist, they could just use the page synopsis for freedom. But then after that, I'll actually give like the entire panel by panel overview, giving specifically like camera angle and everything that should be in the panel set up for them. And like I structure it almost like writing a stage script in a way. And I don't get how people can't like do an
very
outline
similar.
structure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar, because when I did Egg Beater, I was translating, because it was supposed to be a movie. I was translating a movie script into a comic book script, and I had to sit there and realize, like, there's things that you can do in a movie that you can't really leave to open in a comic script, and then I had to condense it, because it's like, okay, in a movie I can say the camera sweeps all the way around and you see all these 37 things, but for the comic script I had to say, okay, I gotta think of I have to think of it's not moving, and I have to make sure that my artist doesn't want to kill me, and I had to also make it like I said, I had to condense it to the things that are closest. I guess like there's only a certain amount of things that can go on each panel, and I ended up deleting, like erasing a lot of things in favor of making the things that making it look as though it was conveying the most information with the smallest amount of dialogue, the smallest amount of description, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm.
And yeah, I think Terry Pratchett did do most of the heavy lifting, because Terry Pratchett was the superior writer. Absolutely. In every possible way, Terry Pratchett is better than Neil Gaiman.
Oh yeah.
Aside from being alive, that's the only thing that Neil Gaiman.
Well, I don't know. If you looked at the trajectory of the world, not being alive might be the better solution at the moment.
No, not for Terry Pratchett. Yeah. I think Neil Gaiman like killed him.
Yeah.
He's like, everyone thinks you're better than me. You must die. Fucking asshole. Did you guys see the Sandman show?
No, I have not, but I bet it's probably awful.
Fucking terrible.
Is that on Netflix?
I mean, yeah, but I don't have Netflix. Sail the seven seas.
Oh, here on the Vomitorium, I have been a proud sponsor of piracy and advocate everybody do it.
Abso-floggin-lutely.
Oh yeah, I haven't had Disney Plus since they fired Gina Carano.
Yeah, and their stock is consistently going down. No, the Sandman show. The most shocking thing about it is how fucking boring it is.
You said the production quality is really low too.
Terrible. Like Buffy, freaking Xena had better production quality in the 90s.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they're trying to put a band-aid on their poor production quality by like making things look not exciting. But
yeah.
It's so painful. Like, and they totally cucked Dream. Like I hate it so much.
Like I might have watched it if I didn't hear from you primarily that it's just low quality.
It's low quality, it's boring.
Sounds like it would be a waste of time, yeah.
Yeah, which is very weird given, despite all the other issues with Good Omens, the quality of the show in production was actually pretty good. I don't know how you go from that to Sandman.
Wasn't Good Omens Amazon?
Yeah, it was, but I think the major production studio, like the smaller studio that was making it, was a lot of the same people. Mm. But Amazon may have just thrown way more money at it, which is possible.
Well, I don't think any amount of money could have saved the Sandman show the way that they wanted to make it. Like, because the choices that they make, a lot of them are baffling. Like, we watched the bonus episode that they just released. Because they released all of them last week, and then, like, and then the pretentious ass-twat Neil Gaiman was like, I think it would be nice if there was another episode. And everyone was like, what does that mean? And then the next day he was like, there's a bonus episode! We watched it, and I was like, wow. They did the Night of 1,000 Cats or whatever as an animated episode. And even though it was the most visually dynamic and exciting portion of the entire series, the animation is still god-awful and lazy. Like, the cats' mouths don't move. So, and you can kind of tell that the voice actors recorded this from their own homes. Like, that is my guess. Because the mic quality for each voice actor was different. So I'm like, did they just have them record this on their own during COVID? Because that's what it sounds like. One of them, one of them, it sounds like he's in his friggin' bathroom. I was like, what in the hell am I watching? And then the animation is like, you know how they started doing CGI animation, but like they changed the what do you call it? The texture of things so that it looks like it's traditional animation. If
where they
untrained.
do a flat light across it, they do like a cell shade, and then they put a stroke so it looks flat even though it's done completely in 3D.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they did with this. But
I hate that. I absolutely hate that stuff.
Yeah. Whomever did it, like, must have done it just straight up in Photoshop because it ends up looking like an old Flash animation. And so we're watching, like, something that could have been made by something that could have been made by the dude who made Homestar Runner.
Which probably surprisingly holds up a lot better.
Oh, absolutely. And then they cut out, like, a bunch of stuff that didn't need to be cut out. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, it is totally baffling how they could take Sandman and fail. It was like watching Star Wars fail. I was like, how? It's impressive how many ways that people are making all of these super successful IPs just fail. I couldn't do it if I tried, but they don't even try, and they're failing.
If you were hired to write something, you would actually go and look at the source material.
Well, if I were hired to do so if Disney hired me for some insane reason, a woman who hadn't seen episodes 4, 5, and 6 until episode 7 actually came out. I hadn't seen them. If they randomly hired me, the first thing I would do is I'd go to Timothy Zahn, and I would be like, "Hello, Mr. Zahn. You are now in charge."
Yeah.
And do you know what would happen? Everyone would be so excited because he wrote one, in my opinion, I guess, one of the best of the extended universe books ever. The Thrawn Trilogy.
Yeah, a lot of people like the Thrawn Trilogy.
Yeah, everyone almost universally loves the Thrawn Trilogy, and there's a good reason for that. There's a good reason that those are, like, my 3 favorite of the EU books. It's because they're excellent. I mean, Leia running around, bouncing around on Kashyyyk pregnant is kind of silly, but, like, they're excellent. And he knew what he was talking about. So I would have gone to Timothy Zahn and I would have said, "You have carte blanche." And immediately everyone would have been excited.
Hell.
Yeah. I think a big issue, though, is a lot of these people, they don't actually know what they're, like, touching. They don't understand what the thing was before they showed up. They weren't fans of it. They don't know the history. They don't actually know the identity of what
they're like,
making.
"This made money."
Yeah, and they're just like, well, here's the things that I loosely identify this with. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's why episode 7 was literally just like a hollowed out kind of like retelling of episode 4. It didn't even have like the core story objects of the myth that Lucas was trying to tell. It was just like, okay, there's like a Death Star thing. Here's some rebels. Here's Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that. Like, it was just a very pumpkin gourd, like a jack-o'-lantern of episode 4.
And it wasn't terrible, but it
There's
wasn't
no soul.
good. Yeah, it was like, what am I seeing? And then the next one came out, and it was god awful.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was shocking. I was like, how does Disney take this thing that people basically begged to give you? If you had Star Wars thing, people begged to give you money. Please take my money for your thing. But now it's just like, oh, you couldn't pay me to do a Star Wars thing now. Like,
And the problem is, those 3 movies made a shitload of money. It's just like the spin-offs hardly made anything, and Solo completely tanked because it wasn't a main Star Wars movie. And
Well, I mean, Rogue One did well enough that they're going to make a series based off of it.
yeah, but that was actually well written.
Yeah.
my thing about Rogue One, I haven't even seen it, but my thing about it is, like, I already know how it ends. Like,
Yeah.
thanks, I guess.
A lot of people gave their lives to get these plans.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
And here's their story.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
My bigger problem is, as a movie, it's very disconnected. Even though it was one director, it feels like 3 different directors directed it, because at each different act, there's a completely different pacing and narrative style to the story. And I think the reason for that is because a lot of these people aren't filmmakers with a vision. They're just like, oh, here's a cool thing that could happen. Here's a cool thing that could happen. Here's a cool thing that can happen. Now we have to fill in the blanks between the cool things that can happen.
Yeah, but then on top of that, they're like, oh, we gotta make that quota.
Yeah.
We gotta make that quota, so throw in this person and this person and this person, because they're shades of brown. Throw in X amount of women, make sure they're strong. Like, ugh.
Like She-Hulk
Yeah.
is infinitely better at controlling her emotions.
Game
than you.
Motron said so it was sort of a visual comic. I think he's talking about the game, the Night of 1,000 Cats or whatever. Dream of
Yeah.
1,000 Cats. Yes, it was, which was part of why it was the only one that was visually more exciting than the rest of the show. Honestly, if they had done the whole show animated, like a really high quality anime, like Vampire Hunter D kind of style, something like that, it would have been actually really good.
They should have
But
went
that
full
would-
Fully Cooley.
Yes, absolutely. But instead they were like, let's make Twilight, but by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
And so it just
I think
hurts
the
to
Fully
watch.
Cooley aesthetic would have worked really well with
Oh,
Sandman
absolutely.
and all the abstract parts of it in general. And then they could have integrated some of the comic stuff, and that actually would have been a great show. I would have watched that.
And a lot of it is just as weird as Fully Cooley,
Yeah.
which I haven't seen since I was like 16. Wait, so they South Parked it but with thicker lines? No, there's more texture. Wait,
It's more like
I don't and
what
South
was it?
Park characters' mouths
the
move.
Voltron show, right? Which a lot of people didn't notice it unless you're really paying attention. But even the flat animated parts of the Netflix Voltron show were done entirely in CG. They just put strokes around it, and they put a very flat light color and cell shading to make it
Yeah, I don't
look
like
like
that.
it was traditionally animated.
I don't like when they do CGI that looks like it's claymation or stop motion either.
Yeah, I don't
'Cause-
know.
I don't know, maybe somebody who's not, into animation can't tell, or they just don't care. But I care because it's lazy.
I think
And
it
it
works with
doesn't
the
look as
Lego
good.
movies, and that's probably the only place where it works because of the nature of them being Legos. But like,
Well, yeah,
outside
because
of that,
it's a square. Like,
yeah. Well, and like you get the reminding of Lego stop motion, and like thematically, it just fits.
yeah,
Lego.
those are fine, and those movies are funny though.
Yeah,
Like
they're
the
good
Lego
movies aside
Batman.
from that.
Yeah, Lego Batman's one of the best Batman I've ever
Oh,
seen
absolutely.
on on a video. I was very impressed. I was like,
with Will
damn.
Arnett, and
Yeah.
also the best part is it really pinpoints everything wrong with Batman over like the last 20 years and makes fun of it in the best way, but in like a loving way at the same time. So it's not just like degrading it.
Yeah. And it was a way that like I could watch it with my kid and not feel like bad about, showing her horrible things.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's just silly. And in Lego Batman they have that scene where they introduce like a bunch of villains from like other things.
Yeah.
It got my kid interested in other stuff because she's like, what's the eyeball on the tower? And I got to be like, oh well, would
Yeah,
you
well,
like to know?
How much time do you have?
Oh, I know how much time you have, and it's definitely more than 12 hours. Let's go.
That's right.
Yeah. And then we're gonna
let's
crack
talk
open the
about
Silmarillion afterwards.
Mhm.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't do that to anyone. Like,
Well, let me tell you about 12 generations
no.
of man, and
I'd read her Baron and Luthien, but I don't think I would.
Well, you
do
can always
that.
crack open The Adventures of Tom Bombadil. That's a poetic book written for children.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Although then I'd have to like explain the
Tom
nature
Bombadil.
of some other thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Who Peter Jackson decided was too complicated to include in his movie.
Oh my god, that would have been
And
so
it
cool though.
Upset me so much.
They've got Liv Tyler in there, and they weren't like, hey, do you know what would be cool if your
If your
dad
was Tom Bombadil, yes.
Absolutely, why
I
not?
would love to see Steven just come
Steven
up. Hey,
Tyler.
do Barry do me hearties?
It would have been great. I honestly thought that was gonna be in the extended version, and then I was so sad because it was that, and then they hinted at the scoring of the Shire, and I was like, oh, that'll probably be in the extended version.
They missed
And
the
that's my
perfect
favorite-
joke.
Well, that was my favorite part in the whole books is when
Yeah.
they finally get back to the Shire and they see that, like, they've told you for 3 books almost pretty much that, like, we'll always have the Shire. There will always be the Shire. And then you get there and they discover that they don't, and they have to rebuild even there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
they killed Saruman too early in the movie.
yeah, that was friggin' silly. And it was my favorite part. And I was like, oh, well, they have that thing that he sees in the mirror, so maybe that's what happens. And then it's like, no, we just did that as an homage. And I was like, God damn you, Peter Jackson.
Yeah, they had that whole scene that was like,
Right.
It's
He's like,
what?
oh no.
yeah, why didn't they just continue filming?
It's like, well, Return of the King is 3 hours longer than it needs to be anyway. Let's give it to me. And then I
Why
was
did
like,
they
no.
kill Saruman off screen?
They didn't in the extended version.
Oh, yeah, they eventually
Yeah.
put it back in, but for the theatrical
Yeah.
cut, they killed him off screen, and that was like the worst thing that you
Yeah.
could have done to Lee.
Yeah, because
Yeah, he was
because
pissed about
then-
that.
Because then people like me were like, oh, it must be in the extended version.
Yeah.
Death is on the Wonder Woman Bloodlines Blu-ray. Oh.
Oh, that was asking. Okay.
Oh. The Death short. Oh, okay. I mean, you could probably find it on YouTube too, right? Is she white in it? That's the real question now. Is she the Black Death or is she the real Death?
Well, the Black Death took place in Europe.
You're funny.
So, what was the joke if Steven Tyler was Tom?
Oh, I was
Bombadil?
saying, like, if he was Tom Bombadil, right, and he saves them in the old forest, like he does, like when they're dealing with the Trents, right? And he tells them to come back to his cottage. He could be like, walk this way.
Nah. I think that would be too much of the breaking of the fourth wall.
No, because you can do it so subtly, too.
I don't know if Steven Tyler could do anything subtly.
Well, I'm not saying he doesn't. I mean, like, you just wrap it into dialogue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It could be like,
My cottage is over here. Walk this way. You know, something like that. You would like anybody who immediately recognizes him might get the joke, but most people would just pass right over their head.
maybe. I don't know. I was disappointed. I was like, they didn't include my two favorite parts of the books, Tom Bombadil and the scoring of the Shire. I was like, I did get, several hours of some very attractive men, but like I didn't get that stuff. But I wonder if some of this new stuff is like people's attempt to get me to like other things that I didn't used to like. Like the Hobbit movies might not look so bad now.
I don't know. I think the second one still does. I liked the first one. The first one stayed fairly close to the book. It was after that I started having problems.
I couldn't get through 20 minutes of the first movie. I still haven't seen them, but I'm like, maybe I'll go back and watch them now. Like, they can't be nearly as bad as the Amazon show.
No, you'd just be better off watching the old Rankin Boss one.
Is that the animated one?
Yeah.
Oh, I love those. They're so fucked up. It's like, what am I watching? This is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I
man,
love rotoscoping, but...
I watched that as a kid. That scene with Gollum scared the shit out of me. Holy crap. He was
The Rankin Boss animation team that did it, which was mostly outsourced, was the same team that would split up. Half of them would go to form Studio Ghibli, and the other half made the Thundercats. And you can see like a lot of the animation techniques that would end up in the Thundercats in that movie.
Yeah.
It was a lot of the people who worked on that like weird precursor to Aladdin.
Yeah.
What is that called? The Cobbler and the Princess or whatever. That had Matthew Broderick and Vincent Price in it. That no one has seen unless you're like a crazy person who wants to watch a freaking
Unless you're like
acid
an
trip.
animation nerd, that's pretty much it.
Well, watching it is like an assault on your eyes at some points. Like, and it's at like I don't know, it's like 60 frames a second or something ridiculous. And it took like 15 years to make. It's insane. Wolverine is here. When there's a whippish, there's a way. Gamertron says she's white in it. Well, maybe I'll watch it. I don't know. Now that I've seen like the Black Death.
If you can find it, this is a short that's in the Wonder Woman's Bloodlines Blu-ray.
We can always ask Twitter. Someone will find it.
Yeah.
Somebody
Maybe
who's into like finding lost media.
Yeah.
It's in 4 parts on YouTube, says Gamertron.
What is this, 2006? Remember, you used to have to watch everything in parts. Like, you find a new anime that's up, and it's like each episode is in 3 parts. You're watching the whole season over like 20-something parts or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes per section. So did y'all want to talk about the big unfortunate news of the week?
I probably don't know what it is. Enlighten me.
The appeals court finally came back on the Vic Mignogna case.
Oh.
After 3 fucking years, or I guess 2 years, waiting on the appeals court. And they ruled against him, unfortunately. So that came out on Thursday.
I don't know much about that at all. In fact, I don't know anything about it at all. I saw his video today, and I was like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah. Well, he's a voice actor. He played Edward Elric. Edward Elric on Full Metal Alchemist.
He also voiced Broly for every appearance of Broly in Dragon Ball, amongst a whole bunch of different voices. Usually, he just sounds like himself.
He's played like 200 and something different voices.
Yeah.
I looked at his profile and he says he has 400 things. So
he was an excellent Captain Kirk. That's true in that fan series.
Yeah, so he made a fan created Star Trek series called Star Trek Continues.
Yeah,
it's basically the original series continued on, and he played Captain Kirk.
He got the mannerisms down pat too.
Yeah,
that's the thing. He's an actor. you know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's better quality than the original show. It's fantastic. It's free on YouTube if you're interested in Star Trek. So, just briefly, right after his big movie, which was Dragon Ball Super Broly or something.
Yeah, it was Dragon Ball Super Broly, and it was basically them going back and retconning Broly's story to actually fit in the canon of Dragon Ball, because all the old movies were roughly non-canon. I mean, the canon of Dragon Ball is a mess anyway, and Toriyama doesn't even really believe in canon in the same sense that we necessarily do. But this was more of an attempt to actually make Broly fit, give him a new identity, and a way that he can be used in the future. And it also fixed some of Bardock and Goku's past canon too, to fit, going off of like Dragon Ball Minus.
Mm-hmm. So he was probably, would you say he was the most popular voice actor? Like, on that show or in America?
I would say at least when it comes to dubbing, like anime voices, he is the most well-known and famous voice actor. Now, there might be people from other things that are more famous, but in the realm of anime and dubbing, Vic was the only one who had celebrity status on par with Japanese voice actors.
Yeah. So right after his big movie came out, that was supposed to be basically his big break, and there were really strong rumors that he was going to become a director at Funimation. He was going to get this huge, what do you call it? Promotion. Yeah, that he was going to become one of the big wigs at Funimation. All of these false accusations came out. Me Too. Basically, he got canceled, Me Too'd, potentially out of existence, attempted to be anyway. And this was in 2019, I think February or so, February 2019. Yeah. All these ridiculous stories, not even anything. When you actually look at the stories, there are basically three accusations. One of them was, I believe, in the lobby of Funimation, he came up to one of the other voice actresses and like was touching her hair, and because she had changed her hair, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, your hair looks so great," and she called that pulling her hair and whispering something sexual into her ear, which was obviously a lie. The second accusation was that he invited these twin cosplayers to his hotel room, which apparently he did. He essentially propositioned them. He basically said, "You want to mess around?" They said no, and so he said, "Okay, that's fine," and they left. That's the second accusation. Now that one was true, basically, and then the third one was that I think Monica Rial, which is another voice actress, at a con in front of hundreds of people, when they were at their little signing tables, she was right next to Vic. She took a jelly bean, signed her initials on it, threw it to Vic, and he ate it. And someone in front of them said, "Aren't you afraid that you're going to get sick from the Sharpie or whatever?" And he said, "It's okay. I just wanted to say that I ate Monaco Real." And that was the third accusation. And then, like, that's it. Basically, for those three things, he got fired, blacklisted, canceled at every imaginable
basically
convention.
Just became a pariah in the industry.
Yeah. And all of these other, well, no, I won't say that. Like, one other woman came out and said she thought he was creepy to other people, not even to her, but like to other people at cons. Like, because he would hug, people would come up, like, people love him. They fucking love him. Well, they would wait in line for hours to come up to get his signature, and then they'd hug him and, ask him to do lines and, from his shows. And people were like, "Oh, it's so creepy that he hugs little children and he hugs people and he kisses them on the cheek. Ew, ew, ew." And it was shit like that. What were you going to say, Metal?
Oh, I was saying the funniest part is, like, there was a whole bunch of people that were coming out on behalf of other people, like spreading stories, blurring people's faces out. And then the people that the stories were actually about were then coming out and be like, that's not how it went down at all and stuff, and having to defend him. And like, it was just really weird, the degrees that people were going to for this.
Well, here's the reason. Number one, he's super popular and they were jealous.
Yeah.
Number two, he's a conservative Christian.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Wait, so who took him to court?
So what happened was, after he had all these contracts canceled, he got fired, blah, blah, blah. He decided he was going to sue. He sued Funimation, and he sued 3 people, I think. Monica Rial, another voice actress, her husband, Ron Toye, or excuse me, her fucking fiance, as he would put it, they're never going to fucking get married. And Jamie Markey, which is another, was she?
Yeah.
Was she a cosplayer or a voice
actress?
actress?
I have no clue. I think she's a voice actress.
Yeah, someone. So he's suing them in 2019.
Welcome, Cross Comics.
Hey, Rick. Nick Rekieta set up a GoFundMe to help fund the lawsuit. And basically, it got thrown out before it could even get into court, because Texas has something called a TCPA, which is essentially, it's saying it's meant to throw out frivolous lawsuits that are trying to silence people. But the problem with it is it makes it extremely difficult to get a defamation lawsuit actually into court. So it was basically thrown out by the judge just for basically being like, well, we don't want people to not be able to talk if they feel like they've been wronged or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's like saying, but I didn't do any of the shit that they're talking about, right? It's all defamation, tortious interference with contracts, blah, blah, blah. The judge threw it out. Then it went to appeals court, and then COVID happened. So it sat in front of the appeals court for 2 years. Appeals court finally came back this past Thursday, and they rejected it. Again, for kind of bullshit reasons. So it hasn't even seen the inside of a courtroom, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it hit discovery and deposition, and that's like the only thing that ever happened.
Yeah. So he was suing them for defamation, and he really hasn't gotten his day in court. Probably never will. But in the meantime, he's been invited back to cons, and he started and at Anime Matsuri this year. Yeah, at Anime Matsuri this year, which has never uninvited him. He announced that he is starting his own dubbing studio with Anime Matsuri to compete against Funimation.
Oh, good.
So
good.
Yeah, so it's sad news this week, but it really doesn't matter because he's already won. He's been uncanceled as far as the fans are concerned. And let me tell you, I was at Anime Matsuri. His fucking line, oh my god, like nobody had a line like his. Nobody.
They never did.
There were at least.
Well, in the video that I watched some of, even though I didn't know what was going on, he just seems like a nice, genuine guy. I was like, I wonder what happened.
He's amazing.
I
He's
didn't
so
know
nice.
all that.
I'm actually, I have some more video that I've been meaning to sort of compile and put up where, because I sat in on a talk. He did 3. I think he was the only one there who actually did 3 panels while he was there all weekend. And he was amazing to just listen to. Very inspirational.
That's like unheard of for a voiceover person. Like most of the time it's like, okay, I'll send my things and I'll say a thing and I'll go, because you don't get into voiceover work because you want to be a public figure usually.
Yeah. Oh man, and they were packed. Like there were so many people there.
That's cool.
And people just love him. I mean, just adore him.
Oh, good.
But yeah,
it sucks that he doesn't get that, but it's good that he's guilty, or not guilty. He's innocent in public opinion. It's good. Not guilty.
But I figured I'd bring it up because it was a bit of sad news. But I mean, it's kind of like, okay, a lawsuit sucks no matter what side you're on. And now it's over. So, I mean, I guess it's good. He can just kind of move on.
Well, and let's hope that his studio does really well then.
I also hope it's in Houston. Mostly
I think it
because
is.
like there's just
where he
way too
lives.
many voiceover recording studios in like the Dallas area as it is. Between
Yeah.
like stupid Funimation, but there's also Sound Cadences here and a whole plethora of smaller studios. As I go down to Houston, there's less competition. You can be the big dog down there. You can show these guys what for, maybe even pull more voice work, whatever. But you're just, I don't know, you're throwing too much kindling into the fire if you decide to do it up here.
Game Motron said there was a signing where Monica Real had a signing in a comic store because she didn't feel safe at the con and her line was probably not great,
abysmal.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, there was like nobody there.
Pretty pathetic, yeah.
And Wolvo said he never interacted with him, but from everything he's seen and heard, he's the most gregarious, genuinely nice guy, maybe in showbiz.
Yeah, I met him at a bar at the Hilton.
Well,
And he was like...
Sorry.
I was just
You
gonna
are-
say he was yucking it up with that Star Wars girl and Lofty, and you know, I shook his hand at the bar. It was awesome.
Well, when you're talking to like a face actor versus a voice actor, you're talking to totally different like mental like areas. Like their brains are in totally different universes, really.
Well, I think that's
you would
where
think
Vic
so.
is different because he's done live acting. He was in theater before he even went to voice acting and stuff like that. And I'm sure he would do more live acting if there were roles for it, but he is primarily a voice actor these days. There's a couple other people that fall into that. Johnny Young Bosch is a big voice actor these days. He's probably one of the few that are almost there at Vic's level of popularity, but his also comes from the fact that he was the Black Power Ranger back on the second generation of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers before he got into voice acting. And then Vic's got a few friends that are also really high up there, and they're genuinely nice people. I think most of them have tried to do live acting before. Travis Willingham's another really good one. Who else? Troy Baker is also really good with his fans, and he just likes acting and stuff like that. A lot of these guys probably would be stage or live actors in general if voiceover wasn't just the field that was available and where they went.
It just seems like when you're live acting, something happens to your brain, like because people recognize you. I think it starts morphing something inside your brain, and I don't know. I think there could probably be a study on if it physically affects your brain, because a lot of people that do that seem to be totally removed from reality, no matter how famous
I
they
think their
are.
circles have a lot to do with that in general. There's like just a whole bunch of different social aspects involved with being an actor that's recognized.
But then there's like a few where it's like, oh, they're super recognizable, but they just like are totally fine. That's why people like Keanu Reeves, because he's just like a dude.
Yeah.
Frank Welker is a recluse, but my god, he's talented. Yeah! He's one of the... I think... Is he one... He might be the one who... He just does, like... I think he has the most credits of anyone in Hollywood ever. Isn't that Frank Welker?
Yeah.
And it's partially because he does, like, animal noises, too.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well,
he's
probably
been in
most
literally...
known for Scooby, but, yeah.
Yeah, he's like been in literally everything ever. I think it's him. But he did... Isn't he the one who did, like, parts of Scar that Jeremy Irons couldn't do?
Yeah, he
like,
did a lot of the animal sounds in general for...
And you just can't tell.
Yeah.
Like, unless you listen really well and think, like, okay, is that it? Like, and then
they
you double
merged
check.
even a lot of his sounds using double tracking into Irons' voice. Yeah.
And he is very good. He should probably have so many awards. Like, it's like, oh, in this movie he did dog noises, and it's like, good for him. Like, freaking great, man.
He definitely deserves 1 or 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I found out about him and I scrolled through his IMDb and I was like, he's been in literally...
Wait, did he do... Was that the guy
everything.
who did, like, Optimus Prime?
No.
Frank
Or was that someone
Welker?
else?
No, you're thinking of Peter Cullen.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Oh my god. I'm
No,
tired.
Welker's everybody's favorite lovable dog.
Oh, he's Scooby Doo. All right.
Yeah. He's always been he's the longest running voice for it. Occasionally he'll still do Fred. He was one like with a second voice for Fred or whatever. And he'll still do the voice of Fred when asked, but a lot of times he'll pull somebody else in now too.
Dr. Frankenwelker.
He does have a lot of
He is also
credits.
Nibbler from Futurama, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think the only one who even comes remotely close that's still alive to him is probably Jim Cummings. I would say Mel Blanc back in the day probably outdid him, but Frank has been alive long enough that obviously Blanc couldn't even come close.
Oh, he did Megatron, though.
Yeah. Now he's done Transformers, but
Jim Cummings, like Frank Welker, he did animal noises too, so he's been in a whole bunch of stuff too. But it's like, oh, he's been Goofy for 1 billion years, right? That's Jim Cummings, right?
He does
I think
Pete.
so.
He does Peg Leg Pete.
Oh, I thought he did Goofy too.
He does so many things. He currently does Winnie the Pooh. He's the longest running voice of Pooh now.
Okay, yeah.
Tigger. He also does like Darkwing Duck.
You're in trouble. You call DW.
Yeah, huge range of characters.
That song had, by the way, that song had no business being as awesome as it is.
Yeah.
Like that song could be on the radio all by itself.
I think he also did Monterey Jack, or sometimes they would say Monterey. Monterey Jack. I love Cummings. He's a very, very good voice actor.
And it's like almost not even. It's not even possible almost to just talk about all the stuff that they've done because it's just too much.
Yeah.
I've seen people who make like YouTube compilations where they're like all of their characters, and I'm like, it's 3 hours long, but it's still not technically all of them. It's like, man, that must be crazy. Yeah. And then your average person just has no fucking clue who you are.
Yeah.
But you're in everything they love.
Well, that's why I get so mad when they try to do like a new movie or whatever, and the voice actor's still alive and around and doing the voice, but then they'll replace them and recast them with some like weird celebrity that's popular right now.
Mario movie.
Oh yeah, Charles Martinet should totally just be voicing Mario and Luigi.
I know.
And anybody else, bring in Wario and Waluigi. Anybody else that he voices should just be voiced by him in the movie.
I mean, Chris Pratt's okay. He was good in the Lego movie, but
He's not
he's
Mario.
not Mario.
Mario's alive, still doing the voice of Mario.
I know, in the games.
It's like Scoob all over again. I was so mad at Scoob when I'm like, okay, sure, Casey Kasem's not around, but Matthew Lillard's been doing the voice of Shaggy for years, and everybody liked him in the movie. Most of these voice actors, they have some regular person that has been doing their voice for a long time, but instead you're going to replace them with like freaking
some idiot who
everybody else was in it. SNL people.
Yeah, who doesn't cost as much.
Yeah. Or will bring them more
Costs
views
more.
just based on their name being attached to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would watch like anything Matthew Lillard is in very specifically.
Oh, he was an A-lister.
He's a joy to behold, really. I like that that underdog, like terrified nerd thing that can get like really angry. I like that. I'm like, that needs to be a thing more.
Yeah.
Wolverine. Volvo says Tiffany voicing Judy Jetson in the 1990 Jetsons movie. I didn't know Tiffany did a voice.
Yeah. Apparently
Well,
Lillard's a really nice guy too. My cousin Haley's met him on multiple occasions.
Second reboot of the Turtles where they switched Rob Paulson to a different turtle.
Yeah, that's weird.
Why would they do that? It's weird.
Idea.
Who is your favorite turtle?
Mikey.
Donatello.
You're both wrong.
Sorry.
It used to be Raph at one point in time, but it's Mikey now. I don't know.
Absolutely, Raph.
I think like there are certain incarnations of Raph I like more, but throughout most incarnations, Mikey's the most consistent character, and I think he brings a lot of flavor to the group.
I don't like when they make Raph emo.
When did they do that?
One of the like comics reboots, like recently, fairly recently. He's like just walking like violently, being sad, and they did a bunch of weird stuff with April and stuff, and I was like, I don't know why you guys did this, because it was supposed to be them redoing the original comic, but they changed like the entire origin of the Turtles and Splinter.
Did they even make it black and white?
Yes, it was black and white. That was part of why it was confusing, because I was reading it and I was like, oh, okay, and then I was like, what? Why? You know, okay, I almost made a video on it, and then I got bored.
I like how grungy the art style of the original comic is. It's very scratchy,
oh, yeah.
Very dynamic.
It's not nearly as like fun and colorful, well, literally colorful, but if you're a kid and you're coming from the TV show, like the original animated show, to the comics, you're going to be very confused.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is dark. But I didn't like Raph in the redo of it. I was like, why is he so fucking whiny? Oh, and then they made Casey like this little... He was just like this little bitch who gets like
Jones
by his parents.
Is my actual favorite character from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's not a turtle, so he can't ever be an answer to that question.
He's not. Yeah. But they took Casey and they just made him like this kid who gets like beat up by his parents. And I was like, oh, that's sad, I guess. Like, okay.
He was good in the new video game.
Yeah. I got one of those little tiny cube things that has like 300 of the original like Nintendo games or whatever. And when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to play those because I was told that video games were for boys. So as me now, I was trying to, you know, it's fine. I mean, they are really definitely men are better at them for a reason. Like biologically, men are better at that stuff, and that's fine. But I was trying to play. What were you laughing at?
Oh, GMT said they weren't allowed to call them ninjas here, so they were.
Hero Turtles. So I tried to play one of them, and I did okay, but I got to this part where like you're on the beach and then you're in the ocean. I don't even know which video game it was, but I was trying to play it, and I was like, this is the hardest thing that I've ever tried to do.
Was it the TMNT NES game?
Yeah, I think so. It was really old.
That game is ridiculously hard near the end.
Yeah. Where you
it wasn't even the end. It was closer to the beginning. But I was just like, how did people play video games then? Like, this is really hard.
It's like slamming your head against a wall. You just have to be very determined, and eventually you get better at it.
Yeah, I was like, God, no wonder nobody let me do this, because I probably would have ended up in tears. Like, why can't I do it? But you could watch, you know, a little boy play frickin' the same level of video games 70,000 times so that he could memorize when he needs to jump. But, like, I couldn't do it. But, yeah. It is, they're not for boys, but definitely boys are biologically better at them.
Mm-hmm.
I will definitely, just like they're better drivers. It's for the same reasons.
GMT apparently kicked ass at Sonic 2 when she was a kid.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
But I agree. Wolverine video games used to be cruel, merciless, and sadistic. And they were honestly, on average, better back then. There was a lot of shitty games. Don't get me wrong. Like, especially if you look at, like, was it JLE or what was the name of the company?
Oh, LJR.
LJR, that was it.
LJN.
LJN, yeah.
That's right,
LJN
LJN.
games were notoriously bad. There was probably a couple good ones, but like they were just pumping games out and they were learning what they were doing, so they had no idea what they were doing.
I really only started enjoying
way better.
Enjoying video games when I finally got a PlayStation 1 that I could use myself in like 2003. It was supposed to be our family one when I was 10 in like 1998, but my parents took it to their bedroom and it disappeared for a long time. But I finally got it to my own, and then someone gave me a Game Shark.
Oh, Game Shark.
And I still have both of them. And that's the most fun that I've ever had, is cheating. I was like, that's the only way that I was able to beat Final Fantasy VIII, was I had a hero on all my characters except Zell, because for some reason there's no cheat to put a hero on Zell. So even though I have infinite of all the characters, because I have every single cheat on that thing, I still died 3 times, and every time was more devastating than the last. Every time I saw that broken gunblade, I broke into sobs, and I would call my friends, and they'd be like, I died again.
You know what, though? Even with cheating, at least you did something Marsupial has not. He cannot bring himself to beat Final Fantasy VIII.
No.
Why not?
I can't do it.
Bad game.
I hate that game.
Oh,
I hate
because
it
it's,
so much.
I've beaten
it's too girly. It's very girly.
It is very girly, but that's not
weird.
the problem. It's the draw system.
It's too weird.
Oh,
can't
see,
take
I
it.
didn't do any of the drawing stuff, because since I had the cheat on it, I didn't have to.
Yeah.
Except for there's like a couple monsters where you beat them by drawing, and I did it then.
Yeah.
But like for most of the time, no.
You didn't even
like,
get to the point of the game where you're forced to play Triple Triad.
Is that the card game?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I actually had my girlfriend beat that for me. I was like, I refuse to learn this card game. Like, screw this. It's
Easy.
stupid.
It's basically just tic-tac-toe, but with numbers.
I couldn't figure it out, so I was just like, here, beat this for me. And she was like, okay, but if I do this for you, then that means that you have to watch more Dragon Ball. And I was like, fine,
That's a fair
I
trade.
guess. Not a fair
GMT's
trade.
GMT says I need to go get a Game Shark.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
Absolutely.
if I finish Final Fantasy 9 through 15, which I'm still working on, I'll come back and do 8.
Yeah.
I'll try.
With a Game
Right.
Shark?
No, just
Yeah.
as is.
Oh. Maybe
telling you.
I'll figure out how to plug my PlayStation in, and I'll play it with the Game Shark, and everyone can be like, wow, Allie, you are remarkably still failing. And it could be like,
Bad
well,
at
yeah.
No, it's actually really easy to fail at a lot of Final Fantasies, even cheating. I had a buddy who maxed all of his characters out in Final Fantasy 12, and he was still losing to bosses that were like level 50, even though all his characters were 99. And then I came in, and there's like this quickening mechanic, which is like a little quick time sequence where you just burst them down, and it's really hard. It's super fast reaction speed after a while. And I get this long chain, and I do over 1 million damage. He's like, that's what you're supposed to be doing in this game?
Well, I died, one, because of that time, but then because there's no cheat to make Zell immortal. So there's one time in the game where if Zell dies, you lose and the game is over. And
Yeah.
he freaking died in that one because I didn't know that. And then, okay, so I found my TV that I was using at the time on the side of the road because it was broken, because it was poor. And it was broken because it only showed the color green. So everything's green. Well, closer to the end of that game, there's a part where you're in space for some reason, and you have to defeat all these different colored monsters, and you have to kill them in their colored pairs, and they're all in different rooms. But they all were green. So I did the math, and it was like I was gonna have to sit there and try over 2,000 times every single possible combination, and I was like, my life is over. So I had my friend beat it for me again too. Like, I just gave her my memory card, and I was like, please do this for me. And then there's a part where you're trying to save your girlfriend in space, right? And she's like floating away, but it looks like a cutscene. And so I kept just watching her float away and wondering why I kept dying over and over again, just like in despair, until I dropped my controller and the camera moved. And I was like, oh, I have to follow her. And then, right? And then there were times when, even though I have a cheat on everything, right? You still have to walk to the next place that you have to go. Or you have to drive the garden to the next place you have to go. Well, I didn't know that there was a map. So I was sitting there just driving the garden aimlessly, trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. I spent 4 months once just driving around, getting off at all the different stops, trying to figure out what I was supposed to do, until again I dropped my controller and it finally hit select or something on accident, and it was like, oh look, there's a map. And I was like, oh my god. And my friend was like, yeah, all you do is you just go and you click on the next thing and it automatically takes you there. And I was like, oh my god, fuck my life. Like, I spent it took me 3 years to beat that game. Allie, to be fair, Allie is a kind of bad at video games that's actually hard to believe is real. Yeah, and people don't believe me until they watch me try. Like I on one of the Thursday shows, they watched me be insanely bad at what's it called? Oh no,
The Oregon Trail?
Trail. Yes.
Yeah.
And they didn't believe that I was.
It's
that I was
pretty easy
trying.
to be bad at Oregon Trail, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just.
She
bad,
beat
like,
it though.
Oh, that's good.
it's a kind of magic. Yeah, so at one point I might, because I have a Twitch and I have a PS4 now, and I might show everybody, like, look, okay, you don't want to watch me play video games because it will make you actively mad.
I've watched people like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn it!
I'd
do
be
the
more
thing.
impressed if you were
Move."
doing horrible in the Learning Company's 90s remakes of the Oregon Trail that they turned into a trilogy with full motion video.
Ugh. I mean, no, okay. So
'Cause
I
those
got
games basically play
Rocksmith.
themselves.
I got Rocksmith because I was like,
Oh, it's a
I'm
fun
gonna
game.
learn how to play guitar. Because when my dad died, I inherited his guitars, and I was like, this will be cool. I can't move past the slider part in the tutorial.
Okay,
And I got
here's the
one of
thing
those
they don't
little.
tell you.
I got one of those little slider things that you put on your finger, and I still
Yeah.
can't do it.
No, here's something that they also don't tell you. Do you have an amp?
I do, yeah.
Okay, all right, so you are plugging it right. So when they show people playing the game in like the commercial and everything, they show them plugging it in directly from their guitar into their USB, and there's so many things that, like, why won't it pick up my guitar properly? Sometimes the input works and sometimes it doesn't, and that's one, your computer is not powerful enough to actually power the pickups in the guitar. You have to plug the guitar into an amp and then the amp into the USB slot for it to even register all of the sounds properly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll try that. But I've been doing that for months. I've been trying
Yeah.
to beat that one slider thing for months. And I was like, wow, I will just never be able to play guitar. I have fat, dumb fingers with, like, a stupid pinky. That's why I can't type normally. Maybe that's just my curse, so I'll try that. I've got a rather nice amp, actually, and I have a grunge pedal.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
like, I'm all set up to play stuff I can't play. But I'm actually gonna have to go because I gotta put my kid to bed.
Well, we went a little over anyway.
show's
just
over.
because we were supposed to be over at 7:30, but we were talking, so I
sorry.
didn't want to cut us off. No, it's fine. It's perfect time to cut off because you have to go.
So,
Yeah, thanks for
yeah, it
coming
was
on.
nice having you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
It was fun. I'm glad you. I'm sorry if I talked too much.
No, it's perfectly
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
I'm glad you had me on, and I'm sorry that I'm annoying.
You probably annoyed yourself more than anyone else.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put a link to your channel in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with other people who might enjoy it. And if you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Really helps us out, and it shows that you care. And in the meantime, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Okay, good night.
See ya.
Hi, besties. You're currently watching The Vomitorium. You can support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Enjoy the show. watching the Vomitorium. Did you know that bees make up every percent of my favorite star system? Bees also know that they can go support the show at www.streamlabs.com